Hey everybody and welcome back to Hearts of Iron 4 in Germany and Italy. And it's Scott and me. How you doing, Scott? Okay. Yeah, well, if you're not watching this stream, you don't get this and I'm not going to explain it. You just, next time, follow me on Twitter, get the stream. That's how we work.
Yep.
Alright. So, what has happened in between? Italy has joined my faction. I'm gonna explain all of that diplomacy stuff a little bit later. For now, it's just good to know that Italy can now see what I'm doing, I can see what Italy is doing, and that makes explaining a little bit easier. So, that's what we're gonna do. Alright, where are we? Focus, army innovations, it's going. I should probably done the Rhineland first, but who cares? Political power, army experience, world tension increased. Yeah, I'm gonna do that next. I need that actually, but not right now. You're still working on whatever you have in your focus tree. I think it was the Ethiopian war effort thing.
Yes.
Yeah, war logistics. And after that, you should do Triumph in Africa, just so you know. So you don't have to ask or wonder what's next, because that's where it really takes off for us. Okay. That's where the politics come into play. And I am also justifying against Poland for a specific reason, because Poland is in the way of attacking Moscow. And I'm going to explain that a little bit later when we get into actual war mechanics and all your bonus and malus that you can get. Alright, so what am I going to do next? Well, we've talked a little bit about the war that was going on in Ethiopia, and we've done supply and all the buttons on the screen and all of that. So now we still have one alert that won't go away, which is no divisions in basic training. And I'm obviously still missing 6 oil and 3 chromium. Let's fix that. 6 oil actually warrants expanding another one of my factories. That's good. 3 chromium? Nah, don't care. Thank you. Why does this go up and down? Well, we obviously got some more factories somewhere. It seems. Probably, I don't know, from something. Or because I changed something in the setup here. I changed a lot off cam. Not to worry about that. I will get to that. Alright, so, no divisions in basic training. If you click on that icon, you come back to recruit and deploy, which you also get when you click that purple tank with the arrow on top there. Right?
Yes.
Good. And the list is pretty empty.
Yes.
Good. Now there's some stuff you need to know about this. First you have reinforcements and upgrades there, right?
Yes.
Good. To the right of that you have kind of a traffic light thing. You have 3 little, well, lights. One of them is lit, the yellow one.
Yes.
If you click on the left, it's red. If you click on the right, it's green.
Yep.
Good. That's your priorities. Now, for me, I always set this the same way. Reinforcements, green. High priority. You always want your armies that you have out in the field to have all the guns and all the other stuff they need to actually, field your war effort, right?
Yes.
Upgrades, I set to red, lowest priority. Because it might very well be that I have better guns available than the ones the army is using. But usually you're also training more divisions to join the army. So before I take the good guns and send them out to the other guys, and wait for the old guns to return, if they do, I'd rather use those guns to go straight into my production of new units and just send out whatever I have to the rest. So that's why upgrades is red and reinforcements is green. And every new division that we are training is by default going to be yellow. So whenever everybody is reinforced, the next priority will be to send out more troops, and the last priority will be to give them the newest equipment possibly available. That usually works quite well for me. Now this list can have more entries. You can send guns to other countries to support their war effort. You can receive from other countries to support, well, your own war effort. That will also be in here, and you will also be able to set priorities there, and you will see what's going on. On the right hand side you have your templates. Now, depending on what country you're playing, you have more or less templates in there. I have 5 different ones. How many do you have?
I have 5.
Good. They always consist of the same thing. You have an icon, then you have a name, you have a train, an edit, and a delete button.
Yes.
Is any of your delete buttons actually highlighted?
No.
Good. If you hover over that delete button, it will tell you cannot delete this template because there's X many divisions actually using this template.
Yes.
Now what is this whole thing? We already talked about armies a little bit, and divisions and battalions, and there's a lot of, titles out there for the same thing, and we have to get this straight. So, an army is what your general or field marshal commands. If you have a field marshal, it can have unlimited men in there. If you have a general, it can only have 24 of something in there. This something is called a division. And divisions is what you train. And divisions consist of battalions. So if you click on the edit button, for example, for your basic infantry division should be somewhere on top. Usually has a helmet as an icon. So if you click on edit, you will get a, sort of matrix. What types of troops are put in there. Right?
Yep.
Says division designer on top, so we're designing a division. If I look at mine, I have 3 rows of each 3 infantry in here. That's 3, 3, and 3. That's 9 battalions making up 1 division, which is, one of the units I attach to an army. So I can have 24 of these divisions assigned to a field marshal, which will be 24 times 9 battalions. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Good. So however many you have in there, I mean, that doesn't really matter right now. You are running low on artillery, right?
I didn't have any.
Good.
I haven't been producing any, so yeah.
But you were losing some. You had a red number there.
Yes.
Good. Now, click on all those edit buttons until you find the division template that has artillery in it.
Yep, found it.
You usually have, there's 2 sections. You have your combat section and you have your support section on the left, right?
It's the support section that has
That's what I
the
thought.
artillery.
So that has support artillery in there. That's a little different than having an actual battalion. That's an attached battalion, if you wish. It's, support company, as you would call it. You do have army experience now, right?
I have 24.
That's good. Click on that support artillery icon.
Okay.
On the right-hand side, it will give you a selection.
Yep. It says cost 10 to remove.
Good. Exactly. You just hit that, and it will be gone from the list.
Okay.
And then, on the bottom, it will tell you you're going to use 10 experience, and there's a save button.
Yep.
Well, hit save, and all the artillery will be removed from that division, and you're not going to use any more artillery.
Yep, all done.
And that should put you straight in logistics. Now, why do we do that? Whenever your army does not have full supply, it suffers a penalty because they are short on something. And eventually, an army that has support artillery, but you don't have any artillery at all, will have a higher penalty, or will have a penalty that makes it, combat-worthy on a lower grade than an army that doesn't even have support artillery but is full strength. So by removing that support artillery, you can now make sure that your army is at 100% strength. It would be at a better strength if you were actually having support artillery in there, no doubt, because you're adding more firepower. But since you don't give them the firepower, it suffers a malus, and it will be worth less than an army that doesn't have it to begin with. That's just how this goes. There's a lot of stats on the right-hand side when you have your division designer open. We're going to go through those at a later stage because we have to talk about a lot of things here. I don't have any army experience, so I can't do anything. So for me, this topic is closed for now until I finish my my focus item, which will be another 21 days. So I'm going to let the game run a little bit. Let's say, speed 4 should be good. Okay, make sure your army is training, that's all fine. Mine doesn't need to train right now. Let's go. What else is there? Okay, we've spoken about templates. It's not really in-depth. We could do, but first of all, we're going to speak about some army orders here. There's the Spanish Civil War. Let's pause the game. Now, this is an event that fires. You see the little newspaper there, World News?
Yep.
The Spanish Civil War. There's a lot to read. And there's a button on the bottom that you have to click, otherwise it doesn't go away. And behind that is a transmission from Nationalist Spain. Spain declared war on Spain. You can click OK on that and then it goes away. So if you go over to Spain and have a look, it's not all yellow anymore. There's a brown and there's a yellow Spain.
Yep.
These two are at war with each other. If you click on any one of those, you get the foldout in the bottom left. And it will actually tell you there's a Nationalist Spain and there's a Republican Spain. So one of them is fascist, one of them is communist. Obviously, we want the fascists to win, right?
Yes.
We're going to do that in a second, and we're going to help them out a little bit if we can. So, before we do that, we need to speak a little bit about army orders here. So, if you click on your main army, you get this battle plan fold-out thing at the bottom middle section. We have done front line and offensive line before, right?
Oh, you mean the whoever I have as my general? Click on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I click on your army, that's basically what you do. You select your general there.
Okay.
Well, technically, that is your army. When you hover over it, it says Army 1.
No, Army 2, Army 3. I got rid of Army 1.
Exactly. Okay, so you have your battle plans there. There's a lot to do in there, as you can see. If we start from the left, there's naval invasion, paratroop order, then comes front line and offensive line we've already done. Spearhead, fallback line, and garrison area, and then comes a lot of stuff we don't need. And the delete button, that's always good. So I'm going to select my tanks here to display what we are going to do. If I do a front line, we've already done that. You can left click on a border and you will do a front line around that whole border. Your troops you have selected will now try to cover this whole front line. Obviously 3 tanks are not going to cover all of Czechoslovakia. That's just not going to work. So how can you modify that? Well, there's a button down there that says Division Assignment Mode, Unassigned Divisions, and Edit Mode. Edit Mode is right next to the trash can.
Yes.
You can click on that, and you will get the Edit Mode. Everything is flashing, and you will see that the end of your front line will have those, well, whatever color your front line is, those dots. If you hover over those, you can actually, well, they start to pop out a little bit, and it says right-click and drag to edit. So I can right-click here, and I can drag this, and I can take the other end and right-click it and drag this, and now I can move the front line to make it smaller. And then just, you know, escape to get out of that mode. That's one way to do it. What you also can do, when you hover over this where it says edit mode, it says hit this button to toggle the mode or hold Alt. So instead of just pressing that, I can also hold, you know, the left Alt key on your keyboard and you get the same mode. You have to keep it pressed.
Yeah.
And then you can also just modify your front line however you like. If you don't want that front line, you can click on the delete order on the trash can and then click the front line and it's gone. That's as easy as that.
Okay.
So what's a front line? Front line is a defend/attack thing. Troops are going to be stationed at the front line. They are going to defend the territory behind the front line if they're getting attacked, and they're going to attack into the territory in front of the front line if they get the attack order. There's a little difference here in having an attack order and not having an attack order. So if you set an offensive line, they're not going to do anything just yet until you tell them to go, which is the little arrow down here. But we're going to get to that once we invade Poland. There's also 3 more icons you need to know about. If you have your army selected and you have your army in the top left there, where you have your training button, next to that are 3, well, arrows really, right?
Where are we at? Sorry.
You select your army.
Okay, I got that.
And then in the top left, you know, there's your training button there, and there's the arrows.
Okay, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Those 3. Aggressive, balanced, and careful.
Exactly.
Okay.
If you hover over those, it tells you what it does. But basically, when you have them set to careful, they will only advance, even if you have the attack order given, they will only advance into enemy territory if they are 100% sure that they can make it. So most of the time they will just sit at the border and do nothing and just defend. If you have them on balance, they will try if they see a chance, and they will sit there if they don't see a chance. So if you have 1 infantry unit standing there, 1 division, and it's up against 6 tanks, they won't do anything. If you have them on aggressive, As soon as they feel that, you know, they've stretched out their legs, which is basically the only thing that would make them stop. As soon as they feel they've done that, they will go, no matter if they can win this fight or not. That is even true if you don't give the attack order. So if you have an offensive line laid out, or if you not set go, or if you don't have an offensive line, if you set them on aggressive, they will always go. That's important to know. What does that mean for you as, well, the chief in command or whatever? Yeah, something like that. That guy, you know, the guy who commands everything.
Cheese.
Yeah, the sink, pack. No, we're in Atlantic, but doesn't matter. What does it mean to you? Well, if you set them to careful, they are less likely to engage, which means they will lose less equipment. If you set them to aggressive, they will engage all the time, which means they are going against forces that are stronger, they will lose their tanks, they will lose their guns, they will use up ammunition, which is basically represented by losing guns in this game, because there is no ammunition, and all of that. It also means you're constantly fighting, so your troops are really getting, well, attritioned. Not only in a way that they are using up their supply faster and you need to produce more to keep them equipped, but also in some other stats that we're going to get into once we get an actual war going. And that basically means as soon as somebody starts a counter-offensive, these troops are pretty weak and they won't hold against them. So you only really do that either when you want to get something done really, really fast, or when you're sure that you can actually win. Or when you want to exploit holes in the enemy lines wherever they pop up without doing micromanagement. But that's a costly operation.
Yep.
So that's good to know, right? What other buttons didn't we cover? Well, there's the spearhead attack. So you first need to have a front line. If you don't have a front line, you can also right-click and drag and set your front line the way you like it, instead of left-clicking and then afterwards adjusting it. And then instead of offensive line, you can have the spearhead attack. Now, how... excuse me, how's that different? I'm actually going to speak like Johnny Cash now. If you do a regular offensive line, they will try to cover their rears and their flanks. So if you try to move into territory, they will always spread out to the left and right of your actual attack order. If you do a spearhead attack, they will go the narrowest path possible to reach their target. This is Blitzkrieg. Spearhead is go in there, reach that target, no matter what happens. That usually means you should only do very short spearhead attacks. So for example, for me, I can attack Prague. That's not a big deal. That's like 2 provinces from my front line. But if I go to the other end of Czechoslovakia, to the very end, that's through all of Czechoslovakia. There only needs to be one troop that, you know, closes that corridor behind me, and I'm trapped. So you need to be really careful with spearhead attacks. They are very worthwhile, but they're also very dangerous. It's kind of a trade-off there. What else do we have? We have a fallback line. Well, this is the same as setting a front line, just in your own territory somewhere. So you can dedicate a fallback line and say, you know what, I'm not going to be able to hold this front line. I want to set up a strong position which I can actually hold. And then you just right-click and drag, and you're going to set a fallback line. Then you assign your army to that fallback line, and they will be stationed there no matter what. The enemy army will advance into your territory. This is where you hold them. Which is quite good, because we're going to talk about terrains and modifiers of combat and all of that, and forts and, you know, all the fancy stuff, rivers. Fallback lines are something you set up in a very defensible position. And rivers and mountains, and sometimes forests, and everything that has a fort in there, like the whole Czechoslovakian border, is a prime suspect for a fallback line. You can also use those to lure enemies into traps by just, you know, setting up an encirclement and then just waiting for them to push against you and then closing behind them. Also works quite nicely sometimes. And that leaves us with the garrison order, the little flag icon down there. Now, a garrison order is different because a garrison order will select a whole state, and it will give you more icons. So once you have garrison order selected and clicked on any of your own states, any territory that you own, you can click more of them, just left-click again, and it will be taken away again. This is something you usually use to cover coastlines. So I have covered, yeah, all of my coastlines here. And then it says at the bottom there, garrison order, minimum divisions, so and so many. And below that are 6 buttons. You see that, right?
Yes.
Good. Now we go through them real quick. These 6 buttons, there's guard victory points, which we've already briefly touched. So whenever you do this, the army will be distributed in that selected territory. So all the states you selected, in all provinces, there will be some sort of, army representatives standing there. And these are, these 6 icons basically tell the army what they should do once they arrive in that territory. So if you say guard victory points, there will definitely be a division standing in every city. And anything else that is a victory point. If you say guard naval bases, well, wherever you have a port, there will be an army presence there. If you say guard coastline, then it's the whole flippin' coastline. Any province that is adjacent to a water tile. Which is quite a lot. If I actually click on that and take that away, it says here instead of 29, I now need only 13 divisions. But then again, an enemy can invade wherever. It doesn't need to be a naval port to invade. It can be any coastline province. So that might be good to have. There's guard forts, guard air bases, and attempt to lower resistance. Resistance comes later. And forts and air bases really self-explaining. I have an airport, there will be an army there. Why? Well, so that if anybody should invade my territory, I can still have airplanes starting from that airport doing their thing, without an army just taking over that airport, because I have a defense presence there. And forts, obviously, forts give you a defensive bonus. Makes sense to have an army stationed there, because they are just that much better. Alright, that's that. I'm going to delete all orders. You can right click on the trash can and that will delete all orders for this army. So if you have like 16 different attack lines set up, like I have 2 fronts over here for my red army, if I right click on the trash can while I have that army selected, not the other ones, be careful, then it will delete all these lines. It might be in a big war, especially against the Soviet Union for example, that you forget that you have a front line somewhere. And whenever you run out of front lines, because you've deleted them, your army will try to find any front line that's still there and go there. So that might mean that 600 of your troops are now moving through enemy waters via convoys to reach a port that's next to a front line that you actually don't need but have forgotten about. That's why you right click and delete all of them when you're getting confused. Okay. Alright, that's that taken care of. And now that we've spoken about all the different things you can do with your army, we should actually see that we can help out Spain, right?
Yes.
Okay, Fascist Spain. So, Fascist Spain is the darker part. So you click somewhere on the darker parts of Spain, and you should get a state owner and a foreign claim displayed, right?
Yep.
This originally was, well, Spain, what now is Republican Spain. So that's where the foreign claim comes from. But the now state owner is nationalist Spain. So if you click on the flag of the state owner nationalist Spain, diplomacy pops up for who is it? De Franco?
Yes.
Francisco Franco, yeah. If I hover over the portrait, it actually says it. Oh, yeah, up here. I was looking for that text line and I looked at the wrong thing. Doesn't matter. This is fascist Spain. It says it in the, well, pie chart that's just an orange/red blob. Now, down in the diplomacy screen, you see on the left-hand side, first of all, that Spain is actually fighting a war.
Yes.
And Spain is also a target of a foreign war goal. Well, that's good. But they're already in a war with the same party, so it doesn't really matter. On the right-hand side, declare war, justify war goal, all of those. And in the lower third, it says send volunteers.
Yep.
We are not at war with either of those Spains, so we can't just go there. We could declare war on one of them by justifying a war goal and then declaring war, but what we could do instead is just send volunteers to one of them to help them out. They will still be controlled by you, which makes it very, very nice. There's another thing below that says Expeditionary Force, which we are not going to do. Expeditionary Force means, here, take my army, do whatever you want.
No.
And you are losing control of that army, so Spain would be controlling your army. That, you know, that can't, that's nothing we want to do. We want to send volunteers. So click on Send Volunteers.
Okay.
First thing it tells you on top, 14 days, right?
Yep.
That means whenever you're sending volunteers, it takes 2 weeks until they actually arrive there and can do stuff. Below that, you have your armies, which is basically one army, right?
Well, I have one that's just the tanks, and then the rest is just the army.
Same as me. Great. So, I have 27 divisions in one army and 3 divisions in the other army. And both armies are grayed out because I can't send them. Below that, it says, you need to select one or more armies to send. You have 0 divisions as volunteer forces, and your maximum total limit is 2. Limited by the number of your divisions.
Right.
Same for you?
Yes.
Good. So it means we can send 2 divisions. To send that, we need to have them in an army that is no bigger than 2 divisions. So I'm going to click on back here right now. I'm going to click on my tanks. Actually press F1 to get the diplomacy screen away. Click on my general for my tanks.
Yep.
And then I'm going to select one of these tanks in the top left section there. Just, click on one. Or, you need to have 2 tanks in there, basically. I'm removing one.
So, click on one.
On one of the tanks, yeah. And the bottom, add them to another army. To a new one, or to the other existing one, doesn't matter. So,
okay.
You managed? Or shall I start over?
All the armies that won't have any divisions will be able to... Okay. Wait. Oh, darn it. I just lost him. Yeah, I screwed up.
What do you do?
I just ended up getting rid of my commander.
Okay, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
But you still have your tanks, right? Your divisions are still alive.
Yes, 3 of them.
3 of them. Okay, well, do you currently have them in an army?
An unassigned one.
But, well, it's an army without a commander.
Yes,
good.
Without a commander.
Okay, if you click on that silhouette of the commander, you should basically see all 3 tanks, or however many you have, in the top left, right?
Yes.
Good. You just click on one of them, turns green.
Clicked on one.
Not on the icon of the tank, but on, where it says first tank division or whatever it is. So you have one out of those 3 selected, and then at the bottom, where it says, new army, the big silhouette with the plus, you just click on that one. That should have moved him into a new army.
Yes.
So, in that army you just were in, you should have 2 tanks left, right?
Yes.
Good. Now, well, go back into that army with the 2 tanks, give him a good commander.
Okay, I'll do that.
If you find one that has the tank icon, if you actually have that, I don't know, that would be preferred, because that's a general that actually has more tank proficiency.
I thought I did. Where'd he go? Entrenchment.
Otherwise, take the highest level general. It doesn't really matter. Just the highest level you have standing around there. That's the only thing that's really important. Give them more strength by selecting the highest level.
Armored. Yes.
Yeah.
Give him. Okay.
Now we go back to Spain, do the whole thing again. Click somewhere on Spain, click on the flag.
Okay. Spain.
And then send volunteers.
Nationalist Spain, right? And then send volunteers. Just the one, then? With the
well, you can send up to 2, right?
Yes.
And now you should have an army that has 2 divisions.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm. You click on that one.
Send him the good one.
Yeah. Click on that one, then it gets an icon to the right-hand side saying this one is selected.
Yes.
And then say send.
And then send. Okay.
And now we're going to run the game. Volunteers accepted, right?
Yep.
Good. So, Francisco Franco said, oh, you know what? You want to send me tanks? Yeah, I'm going to take them. You can fight for me. That's cool. And now on the top, you will have another alert icon. Volunteer forces in transfer.
Yep.
Will arrive 1 a.m. 12th of March 1936.
Okay.
When you hover over it.
Yep.
Yeah, so we now have to wait until 12th of March, and then we can fight for Spain and actually get into a war together on the same side. Isn't that great? All right. Yeah.
Them coming under.
We're over time, so we sort out our difficulties here, and we're going to be right back with the next video. For those in the stream, don't go anywhere. We'll continue straight away after a short break. For those watching the video, I'm not going to say it again. Yes, I am. Sucks to be you. That's it for this episode. Don't forget to justify a subscriber goal. Blitzkrieg the like button. Follow me on Twitter if you want to catch the next live stream and participate in chat. I'm Scryptar, he is Scott, and you are dismissed.